Hello and welcome to Indulge podcast. I am Rupam Jain and this episode is really special because we are celebrating World Theatre Day. We are here to discuss everything about theatre, how it has changed, how it has evolved and everything that's happening in the theatre world. And for that, I have with me three special guests here who need no introduction, trust me, because their names are synonymous with theatre itself. So we have here Akhila Ramnarayan. She's a literary scholar, a professor, a musician. I mean, is there something that you can't do, Akhila?
Hang gliding.
Welcome, Akhila. Welcome to the show. We have Michael Muthu. He's a writer, actor, director, and also the founder of Boardwalkers. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for being on the show. And we have Freddy Koikaran here, a theatre practitioner, actor, singer, live show host. I'm like, this is so much. I'm like, dude, how you guys do it? He's also a trainer and a facilitator and currently a senior audio producer with Tag Worldwide.
Yeah,
welcome,
right.
Freddy. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making time and being with us to celebrate World Theatre Day. So, okay, shoot, we'll go ahead. Let me begin by asking you, each of you, what was your introduction to theatre? When did that happen? And how did it become a part of your life?
Apparently, I used to recite Shakespeare when I was a child because my mother used to read to me and she used to study for exams. So the first lines that I actually recorded on a cassette tape are, "Yon Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous." I was 7 years old or something.
Wow.
So that's probably how I fell in love with theatre.
And how has it stuck with you?
Literature first.
Okay.
Books. Always read about 6 books a day when I was a teenager.
Wow.
And then went on to study literature, and then I did a couple of college plays.
Okay.
Went on to study literature further in the US, and I spent some time teaching there. Came back and started with theatre because my mother started writing plays.
Mm-hmm.
She was in her 50s, I was in my late 30s.
Wow.
So I started from scratch.
Okay, all right. What about you, Freddy?
I was in college. This was in Kochi, and my English prof, he said, "Why don't you come? We meet on the weekends and we do rehearse plays." And he said it's called The Little Theatre was the name of the group. So I went on the weekend and went to the building. He said, and I heard some people doing some stuff. Walked in and I said, "Is this the Little Theatre?" He said, "No, this is the Living Theatre." It was the wrong group apparently. I walked in and I started working with those guys. It was just fluke. And a month later, my prof was like, "Oh, you never turned up." I said, "I did, but I don't know." Anyway, so I just started by accident actually, and that was back in the early 90s. So I've completed about 30 years now of just, then came to Chennai after that from Kochi. I did like one play. My first play was with Paul Matthew, in fact, opposite Paul.
Oh, okay.
And then I came to Chennai and I just started working with all the different groups. I've worked with Mike, I've worked with the Madras Players, Masquerade, I've worked with your mom. A lot of people that I've just had the, good luck to work with. And yeah, it's just been so much of fun and so much of learning in the last 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So like Akhila, you also, it was like love at first sight? You fell in love with theatre?
Yeah, just the idea of taking on a character and not having to be myself, which is sometimes very tiresome. So be somebody else for those few moments was challenging, and it was a real joy to try and do that, to try and make it as to make that experience for someone watching you, to make it as real for them as you can. So I think that just kind of hooked me.
What about you, Michael?
For me, my dad used to direct plays when I was in school.
Okay.
So I used to watch him. I'm talking when I was in my 8th or 9th standard, and he would come every year and direct the school annual play.
Okay.
And I used to see the amount of care he would take, like I remember there was a play called The Monkey's Paw, and we had to literally create an old dried up monkey's paw.
Okay.
And then, so we didn't know what to do. So then I saw Dad. I mean, he's an engineer.
Okay.
So he actually made a skeleton of a paw first after researching what a monkey's paw looks like. And this is all back, I'm talking about the mid-80s, okay? And then he fleshed it out, and then he covered it with fur, and and that whole process just like fascinated me,
Okay.
And then basically the whole process, how a play comes together. It's like, plucking pieces out of the air and putting a big jigsaw puzzle together, and then hoping everybody likes it, and that's what fascinated me. And then I went and saw Madras players play. This was, I think, in my 10th standard or something. I forget the name of the play. It was quite a famous play. And Mithran, I think, had directed it. And I was like, wow, this is what professional theatre is. And then, when I joined college, LTS was the main attraction, which is the Loyola Theatre Society. And from there, I realized I couldn't do anything else. So I stuck with theatre.
Okay. So. I was talking to someone, a theatre personality, the other day, and he told me something like really interesting, that theatre is addictive.
Oh, it is.
You can't leave it.
Yeah.
So since you guys have spent so many years with theatre, do you also think it's addictive?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
How addictive?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't go more than 3 months without doing a play.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, max.
What will happen if you
for
don't?
100 days.
What would happen if you don't? Like, what's your mind
I think
space
I'd
like
go
then?
mad.
Yeah?
I mean, because the mind is vacant.
Damn.
And when the mind is vacant, it's dangerous, So
Mike you're one of the few people I know who does both. You do film also, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a big difference between the two mediums, right?
But the core of it, the heart of it is the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Right.
It's basically one you're performing in front of a camera, the other you're performing in front of an audience.
Right.
One doesn't give you a second chance, the other does give you a second chance. So that's about it. But the core of it, the performance part of it, I think is the same.
Right.
What about you, Akhila? You also think, as they say, like it's really addictive?
I think that performing arts, theatre and music have a very special role in my life. They inform everything else I do. So if I didn't have these two, I wouldn't be able to recharge. This is how I recharge my batteries. I can go face all the other tasks I have in a day.
Yeah.
Because I have these, I think it's the creative impulse, it's the jigsaw, it's bringing things together. And it's the wonder of collaboration, I think. For me, every time something's not going well for me as an administrator, I think about how we do it in theatre, and then I think about how we do it as collaborators, musicians working together. How we work things out because we keep the song or the play in mind. And we're not thinking about ourselves.
The play is the thing.
The play is the thing.
Is that what you also said, Freddy? Like, you can play someone else and not you.
Yeah, it's at the risk of sounding philosophical. I think a lot of the stuff that I've just ended up doing, and I'm not trained in theatre per se, it's just the experience I've had. A lot of it has been very therapeutic for me. And I don't only mean what you said about, I also enjoy music. So it's an outlet. I enjoy theatre. It's an outlet. But it's actually, particularly in the last few years, it's been very therapeutic for me. And I realized that my life, I think for all of us, we play roles, just like we do on stage. Just like we do, we play roles. But the role isn't who you are. The role doesn't have to be who you are,
and it changes from person to person. The role you play,
right?
It's freaky.
So you shouldn't judge a person based on the role they're playing in an office, or the role they're playing in a college, or wherever, or what they're playing on stage. You judge them for who they are. Well, you shouldn't judge them, but you know what I mean. It's been interesting how theatre has not only been an outlet, but it's been very, again, to use the word, very therapeutic. So
it's a great escape.
That's well put.
For those 2 hours when you're on stage playing a character, nothing else is alive. Everything else is dead.
Even rehearsals for that matter. We just literally switch everything off and you're just there for those 2 hours.
With the character, you're in 1576. Playing a character in a Shakespearean play. It's something else.
But for me, I'm sure you'll both agree, or maybe what. I think it's the process. It's what you said about
it. It is the process.
It is just watching somebody, if you're a director perhaps, watching somebody do something new every time. and then learning to fail one day or not get anywhere one day and then pick it up the next day. I actually hate the day when you actually migrate to the stage. I don't want to be there at all. You know, I like the work. I really love the work. I mean, I'm sure.
I mean, for me, that's the more. Once you're done directing, it's boring. I can watch the damn play. So it's the process.
On show day or the day before or whatever, when we're setting up, it's like, no, there's nothing to do because all our work is done before that, and all the experimenting and So.
And once you're done, like since you said, like, you know, I'm bored, how do you analyze what you have created? Are you very critical?
You know, I know immediately. I mean,
he's got the best. He's got the best instincts. Mike has excellent instincts.
I know. If once I see my play, and I'll be like, "What the hell did you do?" And otherwise, the other side is like, whoa, not bad. We did it. You know, I mean, these are the two feelings. But then, you know when you've done a good job. And when you
but have you ever been happy with what you've created?
Yeah, I'd say like maybe 5% of the time. I've been happy, you know, but 95% of the time there's a lot to be desired.
Okay. How about you? Are you also very critical?
I suffer from imposter syndrome, like everybody else. You know, like everybody else. You feel like
of the club.
You just feel like, you know, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing this. You know, I'm, you know, just coasting on the backs of all the greats. You know, I don't have anything original to contribute. That just, like, you have to learn to make your peace with. You have to put that side of you aside and then just take a step.
No, there are a lot of days when I wake up and I say, "Shit, you haven't done anything worthwhile."
I know that feeling.
You know,
imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Man, seriously, it's just like, what are you doing?
But something keeps you going, right? Something keeps you going. Same, right? You pick yourself up and you do it again.
I do. You're right. I mean, I look at myself today, like I said, being all philosophical, and I used to take myself way too seriously. It's about what I'm doing on stage. No, it's okay. You do it the best that you can. You hope people enjoy it. You know. When you said that, Mike, I remembered Bhagyam. When Bhagyam, so Bhagirathi Narayanan, who was with the Madras Players, she was one of the first people I worked under. And she put up the show, and it was showtime, and Bhagyam's nowhere to be found. Where is she? She's outside, pacing up and down. So he said, what are you doing? Like the shows? She said, no, I can't watch my own shows. And every show she'd be outside, pacing up and down nervously.
Amazing.
But like they say, it's a mystery. You don't know how it comes together. Right now, I've started work on a play called Shakespeare in Love. And I did my costing yesterday. And it's coming to 11,76,000. Okay. And I don't know where I'm going to get the money. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
But you want to do it.
But I'm diving into it. I've already called up everyone. I've got my cast together. My first reading on the 9th of April. But I don't have a buck. Okay, but it all happens. Somehow it'll happen. You know?
I guess that's what passion is all about.
I don't know. It's the grace of God, I think. You know?
Okay, moving on to the next question. This I know needs a lot of, and it can go on and on. Like if I were to ask you how has theatre changed, it's really broad, and it, like I said, it can go on and on. But let me put it this way: has multimedia changed the way our plays are written? You know, in terms of their quality.
Like social media or new media?
New media, social media, digital, everything put together. Do you think?
Like in the old days when we wrote plays, there were big monologues. Each scene ran for 20 minutes.
True.
Okay, and each play had probably an act 1 with 2 scenes and an act 2 with 3 scenes, and it was done. Okay. But now when I'm writing, my first act has 12 scenes. The second act has another 12. And each scene runs for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. You know, and then it switches to the next scene. So that is what I find has changed. The attention span of your audience has become really small. You know, like beyond 2 minutes, I don't think anybody's interested. You know, because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is a failing of the human system that they cannot stay focused for more than 2 minutes. You know, even me. Like when I'm watching shit nowadays on the internet and stuff like that, I go for the shots.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And if it's more than 2 minutes, I'm finding myself
Yep.
flipping it away.
Go the
you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want
Yeah,
to, and
yeah.
I don't know why that is.
Correct.
You know, but
Yeah.
I know attention spans have shrunk. They have.
I read somewhere that apparently it's come down to about 6 seconds.
Is that it?
Because
Yeah,
of
because of this?
Because of how much of people's attention span has
Yeah,
come
I know,
down.
man.
Yeah.
So I think that's why short plays have become
Yeah.
very popular now.
Short
You know,
plays,
so
yeah.
within 10 minutes you have this entire story happens, start to finish, everything, the climax and everything happens.
So all these things, do you think it affects the quality?
No, I think it's just a changing trend.
Yeah.
Because the impact is still the same. You're still getting your story across. It's just that every scene is smaller now.
Okay.
So you can actually there are pros and cons.
Right.
Because then you can't dwell into something
Yeah.
as deeply as you would like to. You know, because you have to shift, because you know nobody's going to be listening after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where it suffers.
Okay.
But otherwise, instead of using one scene to get your message across, you probably use 4. You know, interspersed with other scenes. You know, so that's what I do now. And
Okay.
it works. It works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, again, I was speaking to somebody about theatre the other day, and he pointed out, like you're saying, the attention span is just narrowed down.
Yeah.
So he was like, even the rehearsals, like earlier, there used to be like rehearsals over months. Now
Yeah.
we are just rushing to just get the play out.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what will happen next. And he was talking this in terms of the post-pandemic life that we're leading.
Okay.
So very
Okay.
rush, and probably,
Okay.
do you think that has an effect on us
I think-
somewhere?
Definitely. I mean, because like you said, back in the day, when we would work on a show, everyone was there was an unofficial understanding that, okay, we're committed to this show. We're going to work on this for the next 2 months. And it's thrice a week, couple of hours. Everyone's either studying or working full time. So it's evenings. We rehearse for a couple of hours. And that slowly has changed. And now you have the same person, literally, they'll come to your rehearsal and then they'll say, hey, Mike, I got to leave at 6 because I have to go to Freddy's rehearsal. And they'll come to my rehearsal at 6:30 if I'm lucky. They'll be there for an hour and a half and they'll say, Fred, I need to leave because I've got a dance rehearsal or something. It's like that. The same person is doing multiple shows at the same time, and they're going for multiple rehearsals on the same day. So I think that has an impact on the quality of acting. It has an impact on people's commitment levels. You're not fully there. So that, again, it's just a function of how things have changed. There's more opportunities for people to take part in stuff now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the purist in me is is angry about that. Like, no, give me your concentration. But it is what it is.
Do you also think
I have some views on this, and I'm not afraid to be philosophical or nerdy about this. But I think there is a serious issue. I teach 17, 18, 19-year-olds, young adults on a daily basis. I interact with them. I think, especially after the pandemic, there's a serious problem with attention.
Yeah.
Just giving attention, and I think we all struggle with this.
Yeah.
Even as we're sitting here, we're all wondering whether somebody's texted us, whether there's something we need to respond to.
my
Should I be
phone's ringing
checking
right
my, Instagram or WhatsApp? And I'll give you an example of how this is affecting performing arts. I don't know if you've seen this TikTok video / reel from Tim Burton's Wednesday, the Netflix series. So it's fantastic. It's worth a watch. But nowadays, and some of my students are doing research on this when they get to their 3rd year. I teach at Sai University now. They work on these sort of issues that have come up related to the arts and with literature. One of the things is that filmmakers, television series producers, they're consciously manufacturing Instagrammable moments, right? Which can then translate into shorter YouTube clips.
Okay.
I
Right?
see.
So there is this particular dance that Wednesday does. It's the Addams Family.
Yeah, Wednesday.
thing,
Yeah.
right? So she does a very famous Wednesday dance to an incredible song by a band called The Cramps. Okay, and it's just, you have to watch it. And Tim Burton
Yeah.
is just so good at this, right?
He's awesome.
That has become a viral sensation on TikTok and Instagram using a song by Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And sometimes even rip-offs of that Lady Gaga song. So it's really bizarre how these television producers, film producers, they are creating these moments, these shows that can then be immediately reacted to by fans. So there's nomenclature that goes with this. Fan vids, reaction
fan vids,
videos.
yeah.
I mean, it's a world that is crazy. And a scholar, political economist, William Davies, calls it a reaction economy. So basically, we're forming opinions based on likes and comments. Instead of taking time, you talked about depth. Instead of taking time to think about what something means to us. So even this is affecting audiences, but it's also affecting producers, creators, and all the performing arts. And I find it terrifying. I feel like it's a slippery slope.
I sincerely believe that all this is we're being molded. Not just us, future generations. We're all being molded, we're being brainwashed, we're being herded and put into a box. And in that box, nobody's allowed to think. And they want future humans to be like this. I mean, I sincerely believe it. I don't know, man. I've been reading enough.
Attention economy, right? They're buying your what they're buying is your time and your attention.
And your attention is on all nonsense. It's not on the important things of life anymore. It's on issues which are just like sometimes inconsequential, I believe that,
No, I get what you're saying, and I don't think it's necessarily a new phenomenon. I mean,
It's been going on.
when we were all kids, when we were all teenagers, there would have been that one person we heard about who suddenly took to yoga and has, pulled away. And I mean, it wasn't about phones in those days. I'm saying when we were all kids, but we heard about that one person who stepped back and said, you know what, I'm going to get off the grid and I want to just get more in touch with myself. Today, you're saying the same thing, which is we're talking about detoxing. From everything you just said now. Everyone is being, as you said, perhaps herded and molded in a certain way. I agree with that.
And how can you grow if you're an actor splitting yourself between 3 rehearsals in an evening? Do you really think, I mean, I have very strong opinions on this.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Convince me. Somebody give me some proof the other way.
But I'll tell you why, Akhila, because they're not necessarily looking at growth the way we think about it.
We're the original gangsters.
Exactly. So there's that line, that fine line we're walking right now. So let's not go there. But it's there's a difference, and so I think the point you raised about productions being put up very quickly, it also stems from that. I mean, I know a lot of kids in the city who. They're doing 1 month of rehearsals and they just want to be in the spotlight. And that's it. Like, and if you ask them, they say, "Well, why not?" How do you answer that? I mean, we know how long it took for us to work, and I mean, I think I took 10 years before I decided to direct a play. I didn't feel I had the ability to do it for 10 years. I know people who've acted in 2 plays, and the third one is them they're directing, and I'm like, what? So.
Since we are talking about youngsters and teenagers, I'll go to the next question. Do youngsters today interact with theatre? I mean, like, do you think there are many takers? But you can add what you said, like today, two plays and they think they're directors
that
also.
was just me venting for a moment there, but that's not fair to everyone, of course. There are a lot of people who are still looking at theatre as a medium to... I get a lot of parents who reach out saying, I'd like my child to help them learn how to present themselves better, speak better, body language, all that stuff. So there is still, I think there's a large group of people who are looking at theater the right way, and not just as something to just get on stage and be seen. Having said that, let me be clear about that. That's one of the reasons I like being on stage. I'm not necessarily how do you say it, extroverted. I am actually more of an introvert, but I do enjoy being on stage. I don't know about you guys, but I love being on stage. And it's not about look at me. I love the idea, to use the word you said before, about collaboration, about working with a group of people and we make something happen, and it's magic when you can recreate that and people say, wow, that was very realistic. You know, I love that idea.
That community feeling.
Yeah, working, like I said, working with a group of people and to create
Right.
something where the audience says that. So I think that's still a value that people are looking at. So there are youngsters, whatever that means, they are looking at getting onto stage and experiencing what live theater is all about.
Right, right. What about you, Michael? Do you also get a lot of youngsters coming to you who would want to work with you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do work with groups where I'm working only with new people, young people.
Okay.
But then when I do plays as the boardwalkers, I mean, I kind of swing back to my old guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll always call
Thanks.
Freddy.
Defendable.
Yeah.
You just call me old.
No, it's just that. It's just that there is a quality you've got to deliver.
Right.
You know, I'm charging the audience $500 to come and watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want my best actor there. I don't want to experiment with a new guy.
Okay.
Okay, so when I work with other groups, when I'm called to direct them, so that's when I pick out the guys. Okay, this guy has promise, that guy has promise, you know.
Right.
And then when I'm doing my old plays, I rope them in, you know. So that's how I
One step at a time, like little by little.
Little by
Okay.
little, yeah.
Okay. So you're a school in itself then.
Yeah, I'm
No.
old school and I go back to my old boys. Yeah. Because the
No,
young
I mean,
kids,
you're also school in itself, like you're teaching one by one and then taking, okay, this play, okay, this play.
And yeah, I'm a teacher in a way.
Yeah.
And the kids nowadays, you know, like if I call Freddy for a play, he knows, okay, for 2 months, he's going to have to come for rehearsals. But if I tell a kid, you got to come for 2 months, he'll be like, hey, Mike, I got so many things to do. I got this to do. I got that to do. I can't come for 2 months. I'll give you 2 weeks. And then I'm saying, sorry, bro, you can't, you know. I need
So-
somebody for 2 months, you
So
know.
this is that post I saw about
Yeah.
the difference between interest and commitment.
Yeah.
So it said when you're interested, you'll do it when it's convenient. But if you're committed, you will not make any excuses.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the 3 rehearsals in the same day. Everyone's interested in everything, and that's not a bad thing. But you have to figure out what you can commit to so that you're not letting the person down who's trying to put a vision together.
Yeah.
You know? So
How about, yeah.
I want to say that Mike actually taught me something in 2011.
Yeah.
We were doing a play called The Land of the Free. It's an adaptation of a Tamil novel by Indira Parthasarathy.
Okay.
And Mike was there. I think you helped with sets.
I think,
Yeah. And the set designer. And there were a lot of set props and actor props for that play. And I remember you came into the wings, I think at the rehearsal, the grand rehearsal, whatever, and you told all of us, don't watch the play on the day of the show. Focus on your task. Whatever set props you have to bring on stage, you don't get wrapped up in the play, because if your attention is on that, you will not do your job. And I've said it to almost everybody I've worked with since, if they were younger and greener. But I've never forgotten that. You know, it was a really important insight into backstage work. You know, we were all acting in the play. We were also doing backstage work. But when you're doing backstage work, it's in soft skills language, this would be multitasking is really unitasking. So when you're doing this job, you have to focus on this job, then switch to the next one. You know, so I forgot that. Thanks. So he is a teacher at heart, and he's not somebody who goes around, you know, like, well, you should. It's not like that. He just kind of slips it in
Organic.
in the course on the job, you know, as we're doing work.
Just makes me realize how much there is, like, you know, just it's not just about what you see on the stage. There's so much work involved.
Oh yeah, man.
Behind the stage, behind the scenes, so many things.
It's hundreds of hours of work.
Yeah. And then you're putting
It's
it
a
up
lot of
live.
work.
Yeah. Obviously. Okay, moving on. So, stage performances have come back in a big way, and I mean it. Like, for instance, you know, stand-up, and we have OTT platform for that, and we have stand-up shows that Netflix is picking up, and all the other platforms. Do you see a similar movement in theatre?
OTT is picking it up?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because theatrical experience is very different. You can't take it off
You
a
can't merge
little
the-
screen.
right.
Okay, it has to be watched live. You can't record. I mean, you can record it and put it, and yeah, you will get probably 60% of what it should do.
Okay.
But when you're there watching it live, I mean, that's an experience on its own, and that can never be replaced.
Right.
It can't. I don't think so. At least, you know.
It can't be experimented with also, you think? Shouldn't?
It can be experimented
okay.
with. I mean, I was part of I was invited to act in a series of shows in 2017, 2018 by a company that wanted to do this. They set up cameras. So we had cameras backstage. We had 3 or 4 in facing the stage, and they took different angles, but it just couldn't replicate the...
You can't, Jerry. You just can't. Because the energy, I mean, when you're there and that person on stage is dying, I mean, he's doing a good job of dying also, you feel it, okay? You do feel it, okay?
Yeah.
But when you're watching it on a screen after it's been filtered and, you know, there's... I mean, I'd say 50% of the effect is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. Maybe even more, I would say.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Akhila, you
But
don't feel the same?
I will say that I agree with this.
Oh, yeah.
The live aspects of theatre
Right.
cannot be replicated by anything
right.
else. But I do think that theatre has picked up with formats like short and sweet, which have made it more accessible.
But it's still live.
It's still live.
It's still live.
But what I'm
live.
saying is,
Yeah.
that people are getting a lot of inspiration from OTT platforms
yes.
when they watch stand-up comedy, and then social media too, right? Everybody is doing a little play with whatever it is.
True.
Doing. If you have a Gmail account, you can open a YouTube channel and you can hold forth on anything you want. So I think there's a sense of this is accessible. I can do it, and so also they're not coming through theatre in any sort of with any preconceptions. So I see, students at the university, Sai University, just doing monologues, or they've watched so much, but it does tend to get influenced by what they see, on the television series and film. So it has that effect. But everybody's game to try these things.
Okay, more talking about monologues, do you think monologues are picking up more because everybody wants to have their own performance in
I think it
solitude?
just depends on the quality of the writing.
Okay.
I mean, if it is a good piece, I'm sure it'll do well. If it's a bad piece, it'll crash and burn.
Okay.
So
but it's not got anything to do with how we used to talk about if you want to do theatre, you have to be part of a group, you have to go for rehearsals.
No, I think...
Do you think people don't have time now that they're going for monologues?
I feel that stand-up and monologues, it all picked up because of the ease of the logistics.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I think it picked up. Which is not to say that they aren't. It's not to say they're easy mediums. I mean, stand-up is very difficult.
Oh, man.
The amount of
Sheesh.
writing
The more
work you
talent
do.
you need
Yeah,
for that.
and you're standing there facing a live audience, facing their judgment of you
Alone.
exactly.
All
So
alone.
it's not an easy medium, but I think it was logistics that kind of popularized that in the last few years.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I've always struggled to get money to put up shows, and it got worse with COVID.
Yeah.
So that way, having a smaller team, even short plays, typically it'll be 2 to 3 characters. Typically,
you can
so
work
it's easier
with yourself, and you don't really have to
Yeah.
spend that much time going for rehearsals, and probably that's
For monologues, you're talking
for
about
monologues.
Yeah.
For monologues.
But even monologues usually have a director.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lighting designer and a set
lighting
designer.
designer,
It's not like,
music.
you can
So it's
okay.
never an
It's not
individual.
one
Individual.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's always a team when you
Right.
come to do theatre. But then there are acts that travel all by themselves.
Right.
Okay, and just that one person
One
is going
person.
around all over the world and performing. That's
Okay.
also there.
Okay.
But mostly, all monologues, people usually have a little team behind them. They do.
What are the other art forms that can be amalgamated into theatre? For instance, we have dance drama, musicals. Similarly, do you think martial arts, stand-up can be amalgamated into theatre?
Anything.
Yeah?
Theatre is an amalgamation of the arts.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
it can be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think as a musician, I think the difference for me anyway, what I feel is a musician and a dancer, generalizing, you're still who you are when you're performing music or dance. But with theater, unless it's stand up, with theater we're taking on that role kind of a thing. I think for classical dance, of course, they tend to take on avatars and characters. But I'm just saying, in general, if you look at the kind of dance that Western style dance, especially, there's no characters. That person who's there is that same person, he or she. If they're singing or they're playing an instrument, it's still them. They're not taking on a persona and then playing the instrument. Whereas theater is always taking on some kind of a character. So I think what you're saying is right.
What you're saying basically, Akhila singing as Akhila versus Akhila singing as Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But theater allows for that seamless thing of music can be part of.
Of course.
Can be part of it.
Anything.
Dance can be part of it.
Yeah.
She said martial arts. I have to figure that one out. How do you incorporate martial arts?
Man,
into
a
music?
soul fight scene in Romeo and Juliet.
There you go.
Yeah.
you go.
And also people are doing physical theatre. So I mean, actors are picking up these skills. And if you look at Ratan Thiam's plays, or any of the big sort of spectacular plays that involve choreography, fight choreography.
It's got everything. Yeah.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
And I want to say personally, because I did a couple of college plays at Women's Christian College when I was 18, and I came back in 37. By this time, I thought of myself as just a series of brain cells. So I had no idea how Bala, the director of the founder of Theatre Nisha, he taught me to walk on stage. I mean, I felt like I was in a nudist camp, and that is in my late 30s. So I do yoga. I studied Kalari for a long time, and I've used it in sort of fight scenes or sort of expressive scenes that involve like big dramatic emotions. And then you have to, I think that is the incredible thing about being a theatre actor, is that you're constantly having to learn and reinvent yourself, right? So and then I took up yoga, and then I was terrified because I had to do a Surya Namaskar on stage, and my yoga teacher came to that performance. So I was like, oh my god, I didn't care about any of the other stuff. I was like, I hope the Surya Namaskar wasn't terrible. It was utterly nerve-wracking, But those, and also those daily, whatever you practice, whether it's a guitar or I think actors need to do something that takes them sort of, it can be origami, because that will come in useful if you ever have to fold something on stage. So you have to sort of be a little thief, a magpie, stealing from everywhere. And
like he talked about his dad making that monkey paw.
And this is before the age of you can Google, YouTube will have a tutorial on how to make a monkey paw.
I know.
So it must have taken a lot of research and old school research.
Encyclopedias and stuff like that, So.
Knitting, you should take up things that sort of keep you in touch with your body. I think it's like super important.
Yeah, that's why actors are very multifaceted people for that reason,
I can see that.
You need to be.
So you need to be.
Yeah.
Because most of them I know, they sing, they dance, oh man.
That's what I meant with no absolutely no disrespect to a musician or a dancer. You don't see a musician necessarily who has the same skill an actor has.
Yeah, no, definitely. 100%.
Because their work doesn't need that. I mean, their job is to play that instrument well and not to perform, not to, in the sense that an actor does. So, interesting.
He dabbles in everything.
Yeah.
But if you do both, then some of what you do as a theatre actor will spill over into your musicianship. And that's the beauty of it.
And it kind of refines each role.
And not to go on about this, but because I took 10 years, I sort of immersed myself in theatre, and then I started writing songs again. When I started performing them, I felt more vulnerable than I ever have. Because when I go on stage as a theatre, in theatre, I'm going on stage as a character. And here I am.
As yourself.
And singing the songs that I wrote that were therapeutic for me, going back to your earlier point. And it felt really strange. I felt quite, I felt like something happened that I wasn't very happy with. I had to get used to it again.
Like you said, vulnerable, a very vulnerable space. Yeah. Okay. Talking about again vulnerability, how difficult is it to present human condition on stage in a manner that will stir emotions? And bring about a change, especially say social issues these days, LGBTQ, things that we don't talk about, all these things. So how difficult is it to present these issues or these conditions? How do you present it to stir emotion, to connect with people?
I think first you have to be brutally honest
Okay.
about what you're trying to portray.
Okay.
Okay, and then you got to just make sure your performance is up to, the right level.
Okay.
And then you got to give the actor everything he needs, like the right music, the right lighting, the right costume, the right setting, the right build-up. Everything helps in just bringing that moment to life.
I was gonna say it's just something that came out. I thought of a few minutes back, which is it's a conversation I've had with a lot of people about: are you performing for yourself or are you performing for the audience? And I think that's a debate that a lot of people have. It to what you just said now. If you're gonna be honest about what you're putting up, then you're not really necessarily looking at how the audience takes it. Like hopefully they will see
exactly.
they will see the honesty in what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're only gonna look at the audience, is it pandering or is it that for live theater, and that's what we said before, I can walk out of a movie in the middle of the movie and no one's getting affected by that. But in theater, doesn't matter how old and how hardened we are, when somebody walks out in the middle of our performance, we feel hurts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're in the middle of delivering a line and you notice peripheral vision, you see some people are leaving, it could be the valid reason. Maybe they need to get home urgently, but still we feel that they're leaving my show. So there's that vulnerability that we have when we're on stage. So are you performing for the audience where you want them to understand what you're saying, or is it irrespective of that I'm just going to do my thing and hopefully?
If you're asking me, Freddie, I think it's basically communicating in full truth to the audience. What your character is going through at that particular moment in the play. I think that's all the actor has to do, is just be truthful to the character. That is and what the audience gets out of it is up to them. But as a director, I make sure like the actor is giving me that precise emotion with clarity for an audience, but evoking the same response.
So that's to try and answer your question. Yeah.
But it is for an audience. You are performing for an audience. For me, the audience is the most important thing in the world. But I will not cheat on the play. I'm not.
Or the character that
there you go. That's what I said. There's that line, that fine line that we have to figure out.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was just thinking, I'm sure different theatre groups and different theatre professionals from different schools of thought approach this differently. But I think all you can do is provide a window into an experience through your play. And so for the Meta Awards, the Mahindra Theatre and Excellence Awards, the one Tamil play that's been nominated is called, I think, Noorama Biryani, and it is a play by a trans theatre group here in Chennai, and they actually make some biryani in the course of the play, and it's a sort of a slice of a trans person's life, the trans community's life. But, and then they serve that biryani to the audience, which is like a fantastic theatrical innovation too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense, you're cooking it on stage, you're literally making something on stage and you're handing it out, you're sharing it with your audience. And it's one of the 10 meta plays this year.
Okay, wow.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I think that's how you do it. If you're going to foreground, you can't say, I'm proceeding from a message, and just write down your message and then start writing a play. But I think you can speak from your own lived and felt experience, and you can be inclusive in your team, which allows you access to diverse experiences, and you bring them in. But I mean, I would go to watch this play and come away changed by it, not only for its LGBTQIA message. You know what I mean? But because of what it's doing with theatre. With the form, the entire experience. You're literally serving your audience something with love. In that sense, you're just a host, right? I mean, just trying to make sure it's a great party.
Do you think English overshadows regional theatre or theatre in other languages, plays in other languages?
No way.
Do you think?
English is like the poor cousin of theatre. Okay, every other form of theatre does well. Okay, the English theatre is like man, is just, I think the odds against English theatre are really
Yeah.
high. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, everybody else gets support, everybody else has an audience, but English theatre has no help, no support, very small audience.
And why is that?
Because I don't know, it's our fault, I'm guessing. We
Okay.
just don't give them good enough place to get them back. Or we
Okay.
don't do them often enough. So the culture hasn't developed, you know. And it is developing now. I mean, it's been now 37 years since I started doing plays, and it's a lot different now than it was early, you know, back then.
Okay.
But the audience has still not grown. It's still those 3,000 people who
Yeah.
come and watch plays. Beyond that,
There are
there
3,000?
aren't anybody.
Why do you think that's the
He's been
case? Why do you
hiding
think that's the
3,000.
case?
Because it's English.
Okay.
And there aren't many takers for English theatre. Yeah, there's, yeah.
But I do think that many of our friends and colleagues, even in the Chennai theatre scene, are doing work in multiple languages.
They
So
do.
Sunanda Raghunathan of Guru Guru Pukari writes in both Tamil and English and does plays that are trilingual. Rajiv Krishnan just has a new play
Yeah,
out,
Birds.
Birds,
Yeah.
Birds.
which he tells me has English and then Malayalam, little bit of Malayalam and mostly Tamil and little bit of Kannada
Yeah.
as well.
So
I
those
mean,
guys are doing great.
yeah. Bala too. Bala does
Bala, of
plays
course.
in
Yeah.
Hindi.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that when you have those resources, you use them. My mom, Akhila Ramnarayan, she does plays in which we use music and other languages as well. So you need actors who can be,
Yeah.
work with all those
With all
languages,
those
as well.
yeah. So when you English theatre has a very false.
I mean,
that there's no such thing as English theatre in
Yeah.
that sense, right?
No, but speaking for Mike and myself, I think we've been inspired by the there's a Broadway musicals
Yes,
and
of
stuff
course.
like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so if the last big show I did was in 2017. And it was a big set and, a live band and all of that stuff. And it's just not, economically, it's not feasible. There's not enough of an audience who wants to come and see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And as I think it was Karthik and Sunil who said this years back. They said English theatre it's not competing with other theatre groups. It's competing with every other entertainment form in the city.
Yeah.
So it's competing with a music concert, with IPL,
Yeah.
with this, with that. So for a lot of people, English theatre is just pastime.
Yeah.
It's not an art form that they necessarily want to come and
Yeah.
experience and walk away saying, you know what, well, the play didn't do it for me, but I love the set design. Or no,
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
it's time pass, unfortunately.
It is. I'm
And-
there isn't a big audience. for
And
theatre.
you were right, Mike. It's where we have ourselves to blame for that.
Yeah.
Which I won't get into that right now. But
No, but you can.
That's
Don't
true.
ever apologize for the medium, for the work. I mean, you have to do what
Yeah.
makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So I would defend the right of somebody to do a Broadway production or to do Shakespeare in
Yeah,
Love,
yeah,
just
yeah.
as I would welcome all these,
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
Indian Ostrom, Adi Shakti, what
Yeah.
fabulous work they're doing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think language is just vocabulary.
It is.
So you can have a mime,
Yeah.
pantomime, and
Yeah.
it's vocabulary, right? It's communication.
Yeah.
So, how effective are we as communicators?
Yeah.
That's what matters in the
That
end.
matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you also agree with what Mike said, both of you, that perhaps he thinks that English is we're not producing good enough plays?
yeah,
I believe that.
yeah,
Yeah?
it's like I said, unfortunately, unfortunately, I was going to say it's the type of audiences that I'm targeting with the kind of work
Okay.
that I do. I lived my formative years. Lived abroad. It's only in my teen years that I moved to India. So for me, English is my first language. So it's Broadway musicals. It's the English. When I say English, I'm saying American or British comedies. That's the stuff that I relate to. I don't relate necessarily to Indian work. I can appreciate Indian work, but I definitely can't stage something. So my audience automatically becomes a bit limited there.
Right.
So I'm not complaining about that. I recognize that that's a limitation I have, and that's fine. But so I can't expect more than 1,000, 1,500 people to come for a show that I might put up. But something which somebody else is doing, which appeals to more people because of the language, yes, they're going to get a bigger audience. And of course, if the quality is good, then
But another thing I've noticed, Fred, is that when a production from abroad comes into town, okay, like I went and watched The Mousetrap, Agatha Christie's Mousetrap, brought by a professional company from Britain.
okay,
Man, 2 shows, house full.
right?
quality of those shows, I think that's what mattered.
Right.
Absolutely, I mean, world class.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So the people came.
Yeah,
You know, even though the tickets were $1,000 and all that, they came,
right,
you know.
right.
But when we do a play, they don't come. That same crowd does not come for our plays. You know, so
Veteran musicians in Chennai who I speak to say some of this, that the production value is so high when you go to a concert in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, the sound, no feedback, no
Yeah.
tech issues, no glitches.
Yeah.
I mean, right from the first moment, it's a go till it's done. It's like immaculate.
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of work ethic and that kind of collaboration
then your productions also have
and
another,
budgets,
budgets
matter. You know,
That's the biggie.
And abroad they have budgets of 12 million for one production, and then they run for 10 years. Okay, here 12 million.
And you don't have a single buck for the play that you're planning.
it's the elephant in the room, money, funding.
Which is my last question. But before that, we've touched upon this, but I'll still, if you want to add, in the age of digitization, when the world is going digital, how do you think theatre has held on its own, and has survived?
There's something very unique about theatre, that it's live. Nothing else is. So music, So theatre as a medium, it's live. It'll never die. It'll be there.
Okay.
And it'll just keep getting more and more expensive to see. I believe the tickets in Broadway are really expensive.
Oh yeah.
Broadway.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So it's a specialized medium.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
Well, I mean, it's the true love, right? When you think of very famous Hollywood actors, Patrick Stewart, Ray Fiennes, they all, Meryl Streep, they all take time off
to do plays.
Plays. So they use the film is the money maker, and then it allows you time to immerse yourself. Tom Hiddleston, So I mean, that in the end, I think. Not all of us are Oscar-winning film actors, but I think we have a commitment. Freddy's word. We have a commitment. We're crazy. We just love doing it. We can't stop. It's an addiction.
Like he
come
said,
back full circle.
Things I don't do, I'll go mad. It's just coming back to this.
If you watch, if you're watching a tennis match, or if someone's playing golf, and there's a whole crowd there, the minute the person's ready to take their serve, no one has to tell the crowd to go silent. They all know to remain silent. Serve. Or if the person's going to do the putt, they know to remain silent. And that's not something they're being told. Correct. It's the same thing in theater. When there's a moment happening on stage where there's a tender moment or something, a critical moment on stage, if anybody, God forbid, their phone beeps or something, they'll get lynched by the audience itself, and that's an energy which we get from live theater, which is not having to tell the audience. They themselves are there, they're part of what's going on, and we're feeding off of that energy. When we say feed off the energy, it's not the applause or the laughter necessarily.
Right.
Those are very easy. The reason that people love to do comedy is because even if you can't see the audience, you can hear them laughing. And you're like, okay, oh my God, they're enjoying it. With something which is dramatic, it's the silence. Which actually we feed into, and that's, I guess that's a lot more difficult when it's filmed, because you have no idea how people are going to receive it until it's actually screened. But theater,
very strangely in film also, you have those intense moments, and you have the crew who will stand up and
that's it.
There you go.
That's
and
it.
as a director, I've actually cried watching people perform.
Yes.
Wow, that was so beautiful. I got my eyes are full of tears.
So interesting.
So that happens in film also.
In film also. There you go.
But by the time you put it down, edit it, and you bring it, you lose some of that.
Of course.
When you were there live watching it.
Yeah.
And then when you see the final thing on the screen, there is loss.
So which is what brings it back to theatre being live, is its uniqueness.
That's the unique thing about it.
I think it's the closest I've ever felt. It's like a big hug. I really feel like that moment when you're on stage and that moment happens. Every actor knows this moment. It's the closest you can be I mean, in a world that's really torn with strife and you've got a climate crisis, you've got that
Intimacy.
moment.
Yeah.
That moment, it's something more than that. Bala calls it communion. But, he loves that word. But it's just something. It's just something that, you can feel minds, hearts, everything
Melding
connect.
together.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible feeling. I think that's why I do it.
No, of
That's
course.
why I do it.
Yeah.
It's not for the money.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So as a director, sometimes when I've done a play, I know when the laugh lines are coming, I know when something dramatic is happening, so I'll just look at the audience. Okay, and hey, you see that? Got it. Go back. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
I can totally see it. Yeah, I can feel the vibe. Okay, talking about money. So that's my last question. Theatre is poor. We've all heard this. Yeah, has it changed?
Not for me.
Nope. Still haven't seen
No?
anybody.
No.
And
I
what do
never
you
made money.
Yeah.
Never made
Oh,
money.
why? Why do you think that's the case?
Either you got to be good in marketing or you got to be good in be
No.
good in everything. And I'm just not good in everything. Okay,
No,
so,
it isn't only that, Mike. The problem is that the cost of production is prohibitively high. So you're spending so much on production. There's no way you can make it back in
you
ticket
can't.
sales.
You can't.
So if you keep your cost of production very low, then you don't necessarily attract the audiences as much as you would like.
It's a vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And you can't, and we have this problem, like Mike said, a group comes from, it doesn't have to be from the UK or from
yeah,
abroad.
yeah.
It can be from another city.
Yeah.
You can sell tickets at $1,000, $2,000, and people will say, oh, but we may not get to see them again. They tend to sort of take us for granted that, we can see them anytime. So we can't sell our tickets for more than $300 or $500. So there's a weird concept or mindset that people have. So because of that, ticket sales will never cover the cost.
Yeah.
We depend on corporate sponsorship, to try and cover our production costs. And that's not always easy. I think the last show I did,
I don't think any of the corporate companies over here care about art. They only care about making money.
Yeah.
And they don't know anything about sharing it.
True.
So we suffer.
Yeah. Well, as far as they're concerned, it's not social service, right? So they'd rather put that money into,
social service.
they'd rather put it into some web series or something where they'll get more people seeing their brand.
Definitely,
So it comes from that.
So who stays in theatre?
The mad people.
The committed people.
No, the masochistic people. Yeah, you have to be willing to flog yourself a little bit and say, "Wow, that was fun." But yeah, I think it's been
And a lot of people use theatre as a stepping stone to get into movies.
Right.
A lot of my friends have done that.
Yeah.
They kind of moved up and then they've never moved back. That's what I find strange, But I do both. And for me, I can't live without doing a play,
Yeah.
And I find plays much more interesting than doing a movie,
Right.
So,
Okay. All right, we can go on and on with, I can put 1,000 other questions and we can go on and on. But okay, so it's World Theatre Day. Anything that you want to tell our audience? Go ahead. Any message, anything
my
that you want to
message is
say?
never give up.
Yeah, just there's something to be said for getting up in front of a group of strangers and performing something, expressing yourself, whether it's you or whether you're doing it as a character. Just keep at it because of the lessons and the learnings from that are just innumerable. So
Put your cell phone and all your screens away for about an hour a day. Support local art. Okay.
Support us.
Buy tickets, come to our shows, understanding, like Freddy said and like Mike has said in some ways, that this is an act of vulnerability and courage. Support us in that and learn vulnerability and courage yourself.
Okay, and anything that you want to tell the youngsters who actually are passionate about theatre, but all these aspects of not money not there, what do you want to tell them?
Never give up.
I was going to say it takes time. Anything that's worthwhile takes time. So in the day of instant gratification and 6 seconds of attention span and all of that nonsense, everything good takes time. So keep at it. Never give up and just keep at it.
Have fun. Have fun. Actually go out there in the world, experience life, have fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've had a lovely time talking to you all. I hope you all had a lovely time.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
fun.
so much fun. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Freddy. Thank you, Akhila.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it for us from this episode. If you've liked it, I hope you've liked it as much as we've enjoyed talking about theatre. See you soon with another episode of the Indulge podcast. Thank you so much.